Peace everyone, Unmask here and welcome. Today I'm doing something that all of you had requested on the last live stream, and that is to go through all of my artwork that I continuously complain about is filling up my drawer over there, and I have no more room to put more artwork in there. By request, I am going to be going through pretty much the last 5-ish, even as far back. This sketchbook is what I'm going to start with. This sketchbook and this sketchbook are the oldest. This is the oldest. I've had this sketchbook. So this is one of the few older pieces that I brought from the U.S. when I moved to Poland, and I started this sketchbook probably around 2012-ish. So I think as far back as I go on this is around 2012, so around 8 years or so. Still just barely a dent. This is only like a third of how far back it goes. I have a ton more stuff back in the States that obviously I can't show you. But anyways, so I'm going to start with this one and this one. These sketchbooks might seem somewhat familiar to a few of you that have been following my channel for a very long time. I've been doing YouTube now for like 7-ish years. Yeah, almost 7 years. Coming up on 7 years doing YouTube, which is just crazy to think about. In this sketchbook, this is the original drawing journal sketchbook. So that's how far back that goes. Hello, CT, Lillian, Tina, Lilia, Stephanie, Arnie, Lubo, Sketchbook, Sergio. Good to see all of you here. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this sketchbook. So let's see. This is like the style that I like to draw when I'm just drawing for myself. Yeah, I like the anime manga style. So I always used to work with just graphite and ink pen. That was my kind of favorite go-to thing. And so you'll see a lot of the practice stuff that I did. I was developing characters. This is when I was studying, facial expressions and different perspectives of the face. This would have been, like I said, back in 2012, late 2012, early 2013, perhaps somewhere around that time frame. So right around when I started college. Oh, hey there, Richmond. Good to see you. So a few facial kind of studies. This is a character that I had developed. I named him after my first pet, Koji. So his name is Koji, and I drew him a lot. I actually started an oil painting with him and all of the other characters that you're going to see, but I had never finished it. So this is just me practicing my character development. I designed his clothing, and one of the things that I used to do is I would go to like a high-end clothing stores online. I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I really like to use. But if you go to like the higher end clothing department store type websites, they have really great pictures of models and clothes that have different angles of the clothes. So if you find a good website, that's what I would use. So I found a jacket that I liked. I found a pair of pants that I liked. I found a pair of shoes that I liked, and that's how I designed this character. I used that. Can't remember the website. And then, of course, I designed the character's little sister. Never came up with a name for her, but same thing. Found a jacket that I really liked. Just practiced like different facial expressions and all of that. I was still struggling a little bit with using different proportions back in the day, but And then I drew them together, brother and sister. Another close-up of the little sister. This is another character that I had come up with, I was still working with his facial like appearance and hairstyle. As you can see, I didn't particularly like this, which is why I turned it into a trash can. This is just another This is a copy of somebody else's artwork that I just really liked the style. So same thing here, just another random. Same thing here. Just practicing inking here, pretty much. Same thing with this, so you can see. And this is where thank you. This is the revision. Sorry about that. This is the revision of that character that I had with the longboard. So I went back to this character and I redesigned his hairstyle. I made it look a little bit more like this style, because I'm a big fan of this style here. I like the hair, and so I kind of used that as inspiration to redesign him, and I really liked it. I used a bunch of different facial expressions, and so yeah, this was another character that I designed for the same story purposes, yeah, same thing with the clothing and the website. Just used like reference photos to design the clothing and all of that. Same person, different perspective. This is just a random, and so this is part of the story. This is part of the story. I was gonna do like a manga or something along those lines, and so I mapped out like the first page of this manga, and oh gosh, this was back around when I think The Walking Dead had first come out, and I really was into like zombie apocalypse type shows and movies and stuff, and I wanted to make a manga of a zombie apocalypse, because at the time I lived in Washington, and I kind of pulled stuff from the city I lived in. I didn't live in Seattle the whole time. I lived in a slightly smaller city just north of Seattle called Everett, and so this was going to take place in that city or whatnot. And so this is an actual intersection that you'll find on one of the main streets in Everett, and then this is, yeah, as you can see, I didn't finish it, but yeah, I was mapping out the first page, and I was quite satisfied with how I did the police lights and all of that. This is a quick sketch of the oil painting that I was planning of doing of all of my characters. Sorry. I have a question. If you draw or paint a celebrity using one of their photos, are you committing any copyright? I assume you're referring to copyright infringement. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the celebrity themselves. It's dependent on the photographer. So the photographer is the one that owns the copyright to the photo, not the person that they're taking a picture of, unless the person they're taking a picture of exclusively bought the rights of said photo. Yeah, there's a huge misconception with copyright. Okay, a lot of people are under this misconception. Artists, I'm particularly referring to artists, that if you draw anything, your favorite Pokemon or your favorite celebrity or whatever, using a reference photo that you don't own, that somehow the action of doing that is against the law. And that is 100% not the truth. You can draw whatever you want. You are free to draw whatever you want. Okay? There's no limitation. You can copy any photo. You can copy any character from a show, whatever. You can draw whatever you want. You cross the line. Now, this is where you cross the line into copyright infringement, is if you use that reproduced material that you created in a commercial way, which means you make money from it. So, for instance, say you draw your favorite celebrity from a photo you don't own, and then you try to sell that photo, or that drawing, I mean. That's against the copyright claim, or that's against copyright because you don't own the rights to that photo. So yeah, that it only refers to copyright infringement only crosses line when it's used for commercial purposes. If I can draw celebrities all I want, if I just keep them in my sketchbook, nobody can come after me for that. I can draw whatever cartoon, whatever Disney character I want. So that's hopefully that clears that up. I get that question a lot. Oh, hey there, Bruce, Gihan, and anybody else I might have missed? No, copyright does not mean that it has to be 100% accurate. No. If it just has to be the likeness. You're just reproducing the likeness for commercial purposes. Anyways, so this was planning. I'm only in the first sketchbook. We have so much. We have so much to get through. So much stuff to get through. Anyways, so yeah, so this was planning an oil painting that I did start. I did start the oil painting, but I never finished it, of the characters that I had created. This was grid method practicing, as you can see, which I don't think I really needed. And then this was the start of a project with a friend he had, what was it? I'm trying to think of the word. So he didn't write the book. He republished it. Yeah, he republished it. So he republished this book about the uprising in, I want to say Haiti. It's been so long. I'm pretty sure it's the uprising in Haiti back when slavery was an issue in South America and North America and stuff like that. So, 1700s, 1600s, somewhere around that time frame. And this was I was laying out the story of a particular leader of a guerrilla warfare against the slave owners or whatnot. Yeah, so I was laying out the story to do a graphic book, and this is can't even remember his name. But this was a quick sketch of what that main character was going to look like. This is what's called a Zen doodle, and I started this at work one day when from this to this, I would say like a year, maybe 2 years had passed, and I was a cook at the hospital in Everett while I was finishing up my associate's degree, and this was an oven temperature, or an oven thermometer. So I drew the oven thermometer, and then I just started drawing random stuff around it. This was going to be another character development page. So I had a base, and I had the person standing frontwards and then the person standing backwards. I did practices like that all the time. This here, if you don't know of the video, one of my older YouTube videos, a big painting that I did was called Beneath the Veil. This is the original sketch for the Beneath the Veil painting. And so this was me planning a big project. You might not remember this one. This is also a YouTube video. This was just a quick sketch designing. Somebody asked me to draw a dragon or something. I ended up drawing a baby dragon with an elf mystic person holding it. And then I did a collaboration with, oh goodness, who did I do that collaboration with? Oh, it's been so long. Can't remember the name of the artist. She was a digital artist, and she did a digital painting of this. It looked fantastic. This is just a refined sketch of that same picture. So this is a bit of a joke between my wife and I, for no reason. this was when we first started dating, and I just made these random characters because so I made a banana. Bananas have always been like a comedic like inside joke between my wife and I, because when I first met her and we first started to talk on Skype, that would have been around August of 2014. I loved the way she would say nanner, because I would make her say words that she just says real funny, like teeter totter or squirrel. I love the way she says squirrel. And then, of course, I don't know how we got onto the subject of bananas, but I said in the United States we also call them nanners. Some people just refer to bananas as nanners. And the way she says nanner is just adorable. Also bear, teeter totter, squirrel, anything with a three in it or a th sound. So I'd say I'd have her say like three bears on a teeter totter eating nanners, chasing 33 squirrels. Some ridiculous sentences like that I'd have her say on them all day. And then I drew her as a cauliflower because she she still makes it and it's delicious, but she makes this cabbage and cauliflower potato stuff. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like mashed potatoes, but with like boiled cabbage and cauliflower. And when she told me when she told me that she ate cabbage and cauliflower, my American mind went straight to just thinking like frying it in a pan. And so I would slice up cauliflower and cabbage, and it's super delicious if you've never had it. Just slice up cabbage and cauliflower, fry it in a little bit of oil, and it's delicious. Yeah, I'm not sure what else is. Yeah, okay. So this is my wife's eyes that I did from memory. Her eyes are not green like that, but I made them green because they looked pretty. But yeah, so this is Anya's eyes, kind of exaggerated a bit. And then some of you might remember this. This is, of course, Anya. This is when we were still dating. When we first were like talking and getting to know one another, she sent me a picture of her and like what kind of outfits she wears, and she had this shirt here that's just filled with holes, and I was like, oh, that's such a unique look. She has such a unique fashion. My wife, she doesn't dress like anybody else, and it just stood out to me, and so I drew her in her outfit or whatever, and yeah. So this is the infamous anime Anya. And this, of course, is Hammy, our imaginary pet hamster. And of course, you can see the cauliflowers and bananas making their appearance here. This drawing, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what time frame. I want to say this was about 8 or 9 months into our relationship, I'd say. And there was a period of time where her computer had broke, and it was right before my birthday, and we went like a month and a half without being able to communicate. The only way we were able to really communicate was indirectly through her mom, just to make sure everything's okay. And so I would have to message her mom on Facebook, then her mom would have to text her, and it was just, yeah, it was a tough time because we had built this wonderful relationship. At that point, we were Skyping hours and hours and hours every single day, and then her computer just stopped working, and there was nothing that we could do about it. So that was kind of this whole drawing here. Just kind of missing her. This is another random Zen doodle. I have no words for this. It's totally random and just unique. And I was a little fascinated by the square root of -1, which I think is equal to I plus 1 or something along those lines. Very unique number. This was another painting. It's a very rough sketch. This was a difficult time in my life. Big transition happening. I was gonna draw myself in a building that was like crumbling down and just, falling apart, and that's how I imagined this painting, but it never came to fruition. Never got past that sketch there. And now for those of you that know what my wife and I do for our birthdays is we always make a card. We make a card for our birthdays, and so we don't buy cards. We always personally make them, and we make a blob story. This is the first original blob inception. So I was coming up with this very strange thing, this almost creature to express certain things. So this was going to be like just it was just going to be a blob. It's just going to be a blob. So this is the inception of how I created it, and you can see I come up with this 3 head high, just very blob-like thing, and so that's what I went with. And then this is the first blob drawing. So just a lonely blob, rain coming down, buildings falling, just things falling apart. Again, this was just a kind of dark period in my life at the time. Sorry, I don't mean to ignore the chat, but sometimes I can just go on and on forever. Oh, hey, Cece. Hopefully you're traveling well. Teresa, good to see you as well. Jesse. Oh, hey, Chrissy, what's up? I'm glad you were able to come to the stream also. Yeah, for me, sketchbooks and artwork is my journal entries. So they always take me back to when I look at them, I feel the moment of the creation. I feel the time frame of creation. These are some more blob ideas. I was coming up with more. More concepts for future blob projects, and so this is just, more blob things. Now this is there was a drawing contest or something along those lines for, I want to say a video game. It could be, I think it was a video game that had dwarves in it or gnomes. Maybe I don't know which was which. But I started working on that. Started coming up with a face. As you can see, I tried different faces, characterizations. This one's like real wide and stuff, and just came up with a bunch of different ones. And I finally settled on this one. Started working on his proportions and the way I wanted him to look. And then, of course, I was going to make it themed for my channel and, my name. And so he needed to have a weapon, and my idea, as poorly thought out as it is, was to have tape be his weapon. I know it's really dumb, but so I started creating this guy with this idea of tape being his weapon. It's a terrible weapon, but yeah. So that was that sketch, and then I was like, okay, so this. Not the most threatening weapon in the whole wide world. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah. There. So this, obviously not the most threatening weapon in the world, so I started thinking about different tape weapons that I could create, and I saw one of those packaging tape things that you hold on like this, and you just scrape it, and then it cuts the tape. And so I used that idea and that concept to create like a big weapon, and just so dumb. It's so dumb. But that's where my mind was at. This was after getting a new set of pencils. Sorry. So you can actually go back on Instagram and see exactly the day that I drew this. I think I posted on Facebook as well, but I'd gotten this set of Derwent pencils, and this was my first test with that. Nothing fancy, just an eyeball. This is further development, so this is a little bit further development in my dwarf warrior. I did a little bit of anatomy study with muscles and all of that stuff, just getting his proportions the way that I wanted. This was the sketch that I had settled on, and I really refined like how I wanted his dreads to look. Of course, I had dreads at the time, so that's why I was doing that. The way I got his like face to just look like real serious and mean mugged, and I really liked the way that I did his beard there too. Just more refinement, getting the muscles, everything the way that I wanted, the stance, everything. And then I finished that on another. Piece of paper outside of the sketchbooks. And this, of course, is. This was coming up with. Gosh. Most of you probably don't even know this. Like, I guarantee most of you don't know it. But I have like 4 or 5 videos on my channel, if you go back far enough, of blob stories. Now, at the time, I was studying Japanese a lot, and I think I only ever titled the movies in Japanese. But you might be able to just do, like if you go on my channel and search Blob Story or Blob Life, Blob Life, you should be able to find those 4 or 5 videos. And this was me actually planning the first of those videos, and I just did like really short animations, and those animations are actual like things in my life, like short, tiny, almost haiku cartoons of things that happened in my life. And this was me coming up with the very short stories. This was the second story here. So lots of blobs. This is a story that I don't think I ever did. This is a story that I did do, of a very, very old story that I've probably told a few times on my channel, of when my cousin and I ran away to Shoney's, which was maybe half a mile away from my house. We got free food, but we also got a police ride back to our house. But we didn't get in any trouble, and we got free food. And $1. Yeah, can't forget that. We got $1 from a stranger in the parking lot. I would have been 4. No, I would have been 5. It was summer. It was a summer before I started first grade. So 5. Yeah, I would have been 5 years old. My cousin would have been 6. More blob stuff. Thank you for sharing these sketches. Sometimes sketchbooks can be so personal. Yes, I agree. So this banana, if you don't know this banana, then it's probably best you don't know this banana. I made a video quite some time ago. I think it was 2014. No, it would have been past 2014. It should have been somewhere around, it could have been late 2014, early 2015. I was in university at the time that I did this. So this banana comes from a video I made on the cure to artist block. And so if you look on my channel, yes, indeed, Lily, it is the banana. Indeed. It is the banana. That is exactly right. You'll have to go back on my channel. I don't have any. Somebody else can maybe link it or something. This, I don't even know what this is. This is random sketch. Just pure random. I don't even know why she has fangs. Some of you might recognize this. This was the original sketch. Oh, I almost forgot about those. So some time ago, I did a little series that didn't last very long on my channel called Chibi This, and I made chibi cards. So these are playing card size pieces of work that I made to trade with people. So if people wanted to make their own cards, they don't have to be chibis or whatever, but we could trade cards. So this is a popular thing among like comic book artists or artists that go to like Comic Cons and things like that. They make I forget what these are called actually. There's probably some technical name, but yeah. So these are my chibi cards that I did a few years back with the intention of other people also doing cards so that you can trade artwork with people. You know, you can collect artwork from other artists and you can trade. So like basically artist trading cards essentially. But obviously that didn't go anywhere. So this was the original sketch of, yes, Lisa Clough from Lisa, the artist behind Lockery Fine Art. Yeah, this was the original sketch, and then I just, and then of course I applied it to this card. So this is actually slightly more recent. My wife and I, we really got into drawing and coloring Pokemon. This would have been 2016-ish or something. This was before we lived here. But yeah, so I was mushing two Pokemon together because what is his name? Draw with Jazza was doing a Pokemon mashup challenge, and I was like, oh, that sounds like fun, because at the time I was already coloring and drawing Pokemon. And so this is Venonat and Poliwag. And I went with this one, although I kind of like this really deformed, squishy one. I think this one's far cuter. I should have went with this one. But that was the first idea that I had. This is where I went with the squishy one. I think I like this one a lot better. Poorly executed as far as coloring goes, but I still like it. And this one was Bell something. What's the Bell one called? And I don't know. You might be able to identify them. I can't remember the Pokemon's names. But this was the concept that I later started to toy around with. I still don't know which Pokemon it is. It's Ghastly and what is the tiger one? I can't remember the tiger one. He's like a dog tiger or something along those lines. Oh, Mache, hey, what's up? Did you guys did you guys hear my wife sneeze? I didn't even hear her sneeze. That's great. Victory Bell, yeah, Victory Bell and something else. So that was the concept I was toying around with, but then I went a different direction and went more lion-like, and I was going to do the same thing, but I didn't like the layout. So I came up with this one. This one's a little bit more tiger bearish like. I started toying around with this idea, still wasn't convinced it was the best until I came up with this one. And this is the same, this one is like Pidgeotto and Arcanine. Arcanine. Yeah, Arcanine. Yeah. So it's Arcanine and Pidgeot, or Pidgeotto or whatever. And that's the concept that I settled on. I did some quick sketches, laying out with some color. And then I think I finished it on another page. Yeah. And this is more of the chibi artist trading cards. This one is the Major from Ghost in the Shell. And this is a sketch of Nugget, as you guys can see. This is actually the sketch for this is the sketch for the infamous sculpting for the first time live stream. And I know you guys don't forget that one. And I think that's it. Yep, that's the end of that sketchbook. That's one sketchbook, by the way. That is one sketchbook. I have been here for a half hour. That one sketchbook doesn't even put a dent in the rest. So let's try to speed this through a little bit. So you guys, some of you might recognize this sketchbook. It's been around for a really long time. This is the sketchbook that I started the drawing journals on. And before I started live streaming, all of the drawing journals were just pre-recorded videos where I would talk about life, I would talk about art stuff, I just talk about random stuff. Pretty much it was the live streams minus the live stream. This is the sketchbook that I had used for that series. And so when I first met my wife, I was in the mood to practice portraits. When I first met her, I was trying to get better at portraits. And so this is the first entry of the sketchbook is my lovely wife. Entry number 2 is another picture of my lovely wife. And then this drawing here. You know, this drawing actually made a few people mad over on Reddit. Because I don't know how good this looks on camera or whatnot. But during this time, it would have been 2015-ish or something like that. I was watching a lot of the, what is it called? I can't remember what they call it. Artcast. I was watching a lot of the Artcast, and it was mostly on Jeff Lafferty's channel. Jeff is a really great comic book artist and just artist in general. Great guy too. And so while I was watching their Artcast, I was just fiddling about with this eye. And their Artcasts are always an hour at least, and sometimes 2 hours or whatnot back in the day. But their Artcast was every morning. It was like going back and having morning cartoons. I loved it. And so I would just doodle about on this eye while listening to them and stuff. And I never really paid much attention to what I was doing. I worked on it, I don't even know how long, because I would listen to their show, I'd just doodle about. The next day I'd continue to doodle about. And so I called this a doodle because that's what it felt like. It felt like mindless, just moving the pencil. I wasn't concentrating or trying to do anything in particular. So I posted it on Reddit back in the day, and I called it a doodle. And a lot of people, they didn't like that I called it a doodle. And so I had to explain over and over again why I considered it a doodle. This is one of my favorite Japanese actresses. When I was studying Japanese a lot, I pretty much went an entire year without watching anything in English. I watched only Japanese shows. She's played in a lot of really great Japanese shows. So I drew her because she's real pretty. Another one of my favorite Japanese actresses from one of my all-time favorite shows, just period, which is Saikon no Rikon. And its translation is The Great Divorce. And it's just a story of her and her super goofy husband. And they essentially have like this falling out in the beginning of the show, and the rest of the show is just them like moving on or trying to move on, and then at the end of the show, just how they just can't separate, and it's hilarious. It's just heartwarming, and just it's a great show. This is another semi doodle that just stems from the eye doodle. I was like, I'll do an eye, I'll do a mouth, whatever. And I did this the same thing, just kind of mindlessly moving along. I did record some of this drawing while recording the drawing journal 2-3 years ago. So it's maybe even more than 2 or 3 years ago. It could be like 4 years ago or something. And then I did an eye, I did a mouth, might as well do a nose. So I did a nose. And then I got into practicing some human figures, and this was kind of like a learning stage, like pushing my limits, seeing, maximizing my values, limitation on color, just using brown, black, and white. That's all I used in all of these. Just brown, black, and white is all I used up to this point. And so I was just getting better at it, and I was practicing on just everything. So I did a few figure drawings here. This one is one of my favorites of all time. Very difficult. When I did this, it was just a very difficult, tedious process. This is all black colored pencil. And I just wanted maximum contrast. Just like you can see just how bold everything looks. Just jumps off the page. I absolutely love this drawing. It's one of my favorites of all time. I feel like I should do this on a larger scale. I wonder if I still have the reference photo for it, because I just love it. It's so hard. Honestly, I have the hardest time finding good photos of male models doing like a good pose that just doesn't that just looks nice. This I tried to change up the colors, so instead of gray, or instead of a brown, black, and white, I went with just red and white, and I wanted to see how much contrast I could get, how much form I was able to get from using the paper as a mid-tone value, and it came out okay. It looks okay. I'm not a fan of the red though. Red and white are like two of my favorite colors. I obsessed with Japan for like the longest time. Their flag is literally white with a red circle, and now I live in Poland. I have a Polish wife, and their flag is just a white bar and a red bar. So these are cat eyes. I was doing this project. This is the invention. So many of you know the pencil scraping technique with a spoon. This is the invention. This is when I came up with it. And when I came up with it, and I did these cat eyes, I was like, you know what? I should just do this project full scale, and I did. I did it on black paper, though. It's okay looking. So back to my favorite of this sketchbook, this one. I loved the contrast. I was just so obsessed with it. And I was like, I wonder if I can get it darker. Because even though this is like super, super dark, I wanted to see if I could get it darker. So I tried it with markers. Because this took forever. This took so long. So I tried it with markers. As you can see, it's not nearly as dark. This is much, much darker. This is more gray. But yeah, just continuing on. And then I got into color. So around that time, I wanted to attempt. The eyes have it, a spoon. So you don't know the technique. You don't know the spoon technique. If you want to know what I'm referring to as far as the spoon technique that I created with colored pencils and the use of it in eyes, I have a really old tutorial called How to Draw Beautiful Eyes, or How to Color Beautiful Eyes, or something along those lines, real close to that. So if you just YouTube search that, my video should pop up. Yeah, the background makes it stand out a lot. Anyway, so around this time, I was getting better with colored pencils. I was feeling more comfortable with, using color and all of that, but I was still scared to death of doing a portrait. I was still scared to death. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And so I did a little bit of practice. So here, as you can see, I colored the legs. Not an incredibly difficult drawing to do, quite simple. I wanted to just start with like trying to capture some of the leg color. It's not really that great. The shadows are a bit orange. There needs to be more purple. So I hadn't quite learned that yet. How much time do I put into a sketchbook? Do I try each of your projects in a sketchbook first? That's a great question. So, no. A lot of, especially now. Now, none of my project ideas start in a sketchbook. They just start here, and then I usually like toy around with them in Photoshop or something. What was the other part of the question? Oh, how much time do I put into it? It just depends. Like if it's coming up with an idea, like I showed in the previous sketchbook, then it's as little as possible. If it's practice, then it could be as much time as I put into like all of my higher quality work. Like something like this, I put a lot of time into this because I was practicing. I wanted to feel confident in doing skin tones, which I can see that I was missing things. And this, I didn't have the experience that I have now of distinguishing from base colors and tonal colors, and I hadn't quite developed that skill of color choice. In this case, I just kind of picked a few colors and tried to make them look good. They look okay, but the skin overall just lacks contrast. It lacks like the depth necessary to give it the right contours, to give it the right form. This is a much better attempt. So went from legs to something way more difficult, hands with fingernails and all of that stuff. Now this drawing, I was very proud of it. I'm still quite proud of it. I think it looks relatively nice. But the problem here is still, again, everything is too yellow, and in the shadows, it's way too black. So these hands lack a bit of realism in the sense that the colors are not quite there. Definitely needs more purple. So these definitely need more purple, and I broke one of the cardinal rules, and I utilized black, or I relied too heavily on black in the shadows. This is sketchbook 2, by the way. We have not even gotten close. 40 minutes in. Gosh, I'm gonna be here for the rest of the day. I'm gonna lose my voice. All right, so moving on. This is more practice. Lots of skin. This made me feel a little bit more comfortable with getting skin tones. This is where I sort of started to understand the toning stage of the skin, and this is the inception of Ninja Purple right here. This drawing, Ninja Purple, came from this drawing. I don't know if you can see, but right down here where the abdomen muscles split and go up to the belly button, that I started to use purple. started to use, it was a lavender purple actually. So it was a tonal stage of lavender purple that clicked the light bulb. And that's where I started to build my confidence with doing skin tones. I'm not sure how good this looks on camera, but yeah. I do indeed, Sergio, very much enjoy all of your guys' company. I am very grateful that all of you come to my live streams, hang out, ask questions, and you guys wanted to see my artwork, and I hope that I'm not disappointing you. I hope that you're enjoying it so far. Let's see. I'm trying not to miss anything in the chat. If I did miss anything, my apologies. I'm not ignoring anyone. It's just kind of difficult. So if I happen to miss any of your questions, feel free to ask it again. It's no problem. So for the black parts here, I actually used black ink with colored pencil on top. And this is, you might recognize her. I've drawn her a few times. This is my wife again. And this was my unofficial first attempt at portrait. Certainly there's room for improvement. One of the things that early on in doing portraits, I was always very confident with my eyes. For me, eyes have always been just so easy. They've just been the easiest thing to ever do. And one of the things that I'm able to do in eyes comfortably is produce a lot of contrast. And as you can see, what the issue with this drawing is that all of the contrast is in her eyes, which is, it's okay. It's okay. There's not specifically a problem with that, but there's no contrast in the contours of the skin. And that's the color fear. That's the color fear that, portraits give me even to this day. And I certainly, this drawing would have certainly been at a higher level had I felt more comfortable with creating the contrast that happens in the skin. My wife has really puffy cheeks when she smiles. I love her puffy cheeks. So the shadows under them, they could be a little bit heavier. This was a natural light scene. The light is off to the left, up. And so the cast shadow from her nose right here, that could be a little bit darker. And what that would do is that would bring her nose off of her face a little bit, make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So there's certainly a lot of room for improvement, but this was the first time that I had ever attempted a human face with colored pencils. Here's another one of my favorites. Really, really great. I think it's the same model that I used. Yeah, you know which one. I think this is the same model, a different picture. Really, really great pose. I just love the depth of the muscles that I was able to get. Still some room for improvement. This part, this transition from where the pectoral muscle kind of goes into the shoulder muscle here. I don't think I quite got that right, stuff like that's really hard. I love doing studies like this. I also struggled a lot with the hair. I was still learning how to do hair with colored pencils, and I wasn't sure. I have these weird white bits in the hair that just don't look all that great, but this is one of my favorites. On this one, I think I used marker and then colored pencil over top. Oh yeah, Shiny, you would remember. You definitely remember me drawing this one. Anyways, so this one stems from an old tutorial that I did, and you'll see some of those sheets of paper sketches later on. But this stemmed from a how to draw anime tutorial, and I break down like each step. I break down the head, break down the eyes, the mouth, the nose, all of that stuff, and then I break down the proportions of the body. I break down different types of clothing, the way the folds are, all of that stuff. Basically, it's like a crash course on how to draw things like this. And I drew a base. Which is just, it's essentially a nude figure. And then I had you guys tell me what to draw her like. And somebody came up with like a futuristic, but still classic Japanese schoolgirl anime thing. And so that's what I turned it into. And this was the design that I'd come up with. So she's supposed to be a futuristic, like anime schoolgirl type uniform thing. And yeah, that's what it came out to be. And then this, I don't even know, the angriest ninja in the world. I don't remember how this came about. Again, this was like viewer suggestions and things. So I drew a chibi ninja, the angriest I could make him, dual wielding katanas. So that's that. As you can see here, I've gotten better. So if you look back at some of my first, so this one in particular, this one, I wish I had drawn this better. I wish I had drawn this better partially because I got compliments from both the model and the photographer. And I was super hyped because this was way back when I had like 300 subscribers or something, just like no subscribers. And I posted this on Instagram, and I think I tagged the artist or the photographer for having such a beautiful photo, and the model she reshared it on her Instagram and tagged me and said thank you and beautiful work or whatnot. And I was like, oh man, I wish I would have drawn it better. I wish I would have done it better because she liked it. But the anatomy on the back is just I wish it was better. And here you can see that as I've gotten better at just being an artist, I was able to get like smoother contours. I was able to just get a little bit softer look to certain parts. Like you can see some of the rib cage there. It's just, I was able to get it softer, and that's all I got to say about that. So you can see I'm getting better. Here is, what are these called? Somebody from Australia help me out. You guys, capybara? No, not capybara. They're supposed to be like the happiest looking creatures on Earth or something. What are they called? They're so adorable. There's like an island where like 100,000 of these things live. How come the angry ninja isn't purple? Yeah, he should be purple. Anyways, this is when I got my polychromos pencils, and I was experimenting with polychromos pencils, and that's where Aquaka. That's it. Yeah, so adorable, super adorable. But yeah, so I drew this with polychromos, testing it out, seeing how I liked the pencils, and yeah, I think it came out pretty good. He's adorable. I continued with the experimentation with polychromos. I drew this fish. I tried to make the colors as bold as I could. I was a little disappointed. I was really hoping to get like really bold, vibrant colors, but they're just a bit too translucent to be as bold as I wanted them to be. I suppose I could go back and add some Prismacolor to this and really bring out the yellow and blue, but I'm not going to do that. This is a kitten with the eyes way too far apart. So after I drew this fish, I drew this without like doing practice sketches. Essentially, I looked at a reference photo of a kitten, and I wanted to characterize the kitten. I wanted to make the cat's head bigger. I wanted to make the cat's eyes bigger, and I wanted to see if I could take a kitten, like a photo of a kitten, and just kind of morph it around a little bit to make it cuter. But I failed because I don't think I made the eyes quite big enough. But one of the big mistakes that I did is I made the eyes too far apart. And so this one didn't quite come out as well as I hoped. And so I tried it again. I tried it with this bird. So with this bird, I made the head way bigger than it's supposed to be. I made the eyes way bigger, and I think I made the beak smaller. So I just morphed the bird in my imagination, and then used a photo reference to for the colors and what the feathers and stuff look like. Still testing out polychromos during this time, and I was relatively satisfied with them. I hate this drawing. I don't even know what the purpose of this is. I just tried drawing a flower. Yeah, this still polychromos, I think. Some of you might remember these lips. They're supposed to be gold, but it looks like the color faded or something. I don't even know. Maybe I was still struggling a little bit at this point. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're supposed to be gold lips, but they don't look very gold to me. Colors are a bit dull. Yeah, definitely a hideous flower. This, now you might not think much of this circle, but I spent about 4 hours on this circle. And I explained this before in a live stream not too long ago. I colored this circle for 4 hours. And the reason, I did it with polychromos because I was testing something. This I think I did back in August or September of last year. I did it off camera. I didn't live stream me coloring this circle for 4 hours. But the purpose of it was because I had gotten a little frustrated, to be honest with you. I got a tiny bit frustrated with just my color pencil work. It was the irritation I was having was that I was seeing other people's work and seeing the photos of their work, and one of the things that drives me nuts is that when I take a photo of my work, I put a lot of effort into making sure that the light is good, and then when I take the photo into Photoshop, trying to match the colors to reality the best that I can, and just getting it to look as close to what it looks like in reality. And it seems like everybody does it better than I do, and I don't know why. I'm sure it's just me being way too self-critical, but either way, came across this artist. He was using polychromos, and it didn't seem like he was having the issues that I had previously felt like I had with polychromos, with the colors just feeling too translucent, not bold, and all of that stuff. And I watched him, and he pointed out a few things that he did differently And one of the things that he did differently that I never considered, when you color like a piece of paper or whatnot with colored pencils, you know how you like almost no matter how much you color or burnish it, you still have those like little cracks or those little pinholes where the paper still shows through, and it's like so frustrating to try to get rid of it. And solvent, blending with solvent generally will get rid of that stuff, right? But he did not use solvent. He never used solvent, and his work was immaculate. And I was like, man, what's he do? Like, what was the magic of him being able to fill in those microscopic pinholes and cracks and all that junk? And so I watched him one day, and I realized that what he did, he would just have a sharp pencil, and he'd literally poke those cracks and holes with the pencils. He'd fill them in by hand, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. That's it. You just fill them in by hand, and if you go side to side like this, thinking that if you put enough layers, it's gonna cover it. It's not how it works. Because when you're doing this, you have a lot more of the pencil surface on the paper, and you're constantly just going over those same holes and same cracks in the pigment, and it's never going to color it in. And I don't know why it never occurred to me to just turn the pencil vertical and just poke the pigment right into those holes. And so that's why I spent 4.5 hours coloring this circle, because this is the smoothest. This is the smoothest color that you can get with colored pencils. It's flawless. It's just wonderful. And I was like, okay, now I know. And it is because of this circle that I flip-flopped on polychromos being good or bad pencils. And once I discovered that, there's only one thing left in this sketchbook, and it's this. More circles. This is when I fractured my wrist, and I drew with my left hand, and I still did a drawing journal. I just did it completely with my left hand. So yeah, that is the end of that sketchbook. That circle I spent 4 hours on was the prerequisite to my photorealism challenge that I did back in September of the painted face. So yeah. All right, so I don't even know what sketchbook to do next. Actually, I don't even think I have anything in this. I think I took... Do I have anything? No, this is just paper. I wouldn't even call this a sketchbook. As you can see, I would just tear it out. I'd just tear the paper out because I like this paper. But all of the work that I produced from this, I took back to the United States. Cece has it, so can't show you any of that. It would have been a bunch of portraits and maybe a couple figure drawings or whatnot. Let's see. Let's get through the sketchbooks, and then I'll get through this pile of mess. Let's see, which one's the first one? Not that one. This is technically the first one, so I'll go through that first, and then this is the first. So it goes this one, and then this one. So back, this would have been, I did 3 years of Inktober, so 2016. 2016, I was looking for the sketchbook that I wanted to use for Inktober. This is the sketchbook. These sketchbooks are just amazing. The paper inside is super thick. I used acrylic inks here, which I despise. Acrylic inks are just a waste of money. If you're going to do acrylic inks, skip acrylic inks, go for real inks, or go for watercolors. the acrylic ink is like in between, and they just are garbage. But yeah, so I was testing out acrylic inks with this. This is probably the only halfway decent thing I did with acrylic inks, but the drawing itself is terrible. But I liked the vibrancy of the color. I was like, oh, the vibrancy of the color is really nice. But aside from that, I kind of hate it. Oh, this was this was just some studies, I think. Yeah, a few studies. Yeah, just what's the word I'm looking for? Gosh, what's the word? Anatomy. So these were some old anatomy studies, as you can see. Very, very rough anatomy studies. And then, oh, so if you see behind me, I think you can see that, the tomato, the goofy tomato that I did there. I was going to do a series of like fruits and vegetables where they all have like faces and stuff. And the next one that I was going to do was like a pepper and a potato. And so I started designing the potato and pepper, but I never realized the idea completely. This was just something quick that I did to for hair tutorial or something along those lines. Or no, maybe it was a student. I don't know. A very terrible eye. I don't even know where this eye came from, but it's terrible. It looks familiar. I want to. This might have also been with a student also, so that's why it's terrible, because I was working really quick. I was trying to do this in an hour. Oh, here's the potato. So I did kind of fully do the potato. I think I remember posting this. So this is the goofy potato. I really liked the way this. I really like the way this looks. It's super ridiculous. I fractured my wrist skateboarding. It would have been 2015, I think. Yeah, so there's the potato. These were markers that I was testing out. I think they're pro markers. And I think that's it. I think the last page. Yeah, so that's it. Nothing special about that sketchbook. Just some random stuff. Now these two, you guys should recognize. This is the first time that I did Inktober. The only good time that I've done Inktober. Where I was actually proud of some of the work that I produced. Day one I think was running. I don't remember. Running or wild or something, and so I drew like a wild horse or something. And this was brush and ink that I did these with. This one is probably one of my favorites, partially because this is the 3rd of October 2016 is the birthday of Nugget. 3rd of October 2016 is Nugget's birthday. Because this is Nugget, this is the OG Nugget right here. This is the original. The prompt on that day was toxic, and I was expressing anger as being toxic. So if you've been following me for a while, then you know that I'm probably the least angry person. And I would say my philosophy of not getting angry, yeah, so this just represents that, I guess. Like, So I drew like this evil thing and toxic sign, and then just this person that's just ridiculously angry. I think nowadays we'd probably call her Karen. If you're not familiar with that meme, then you should be, because it's kind of hilarious. And that's Nugget. Yep, that's the original Nugget. He's like, I ain't having no business with this. I'm getting out of here. And then, of course, Nugget makes his way back here. I don't remember the prompt of this, but it was like a mermaid, but instead of a mermaid with fish tail, she's an octopus. I really like this idea. I think doing a revision of this would be kind of cool. Maybe even doing it with color next time. I think I used markers on this one though. I can't remember. I might have used markers, but I still remember using brush and ink here. A horse prompt was swift. Oh, okay, yeah. I knew it was something like that. And then this one was long. Of course, Nugget up here. This one I really like. I just love the hair. Yeah. And so recently I did a very detailed hair explanation tutorial on the Druid project from last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever. And this exemplifies the universality of that technique and process that I explained. Because what did I say? Rule number 1, always go in the direction. Rule number 2, contrast. Rule number 3, color. And then the process is, of course, define the dark shapes, and then define the highlights, bridge the gap with the base color, and then do the toning, and then finally do the flyaway details. While in this, I'm not even working with color here, so I did the dark shapes first, creating the base of the depth of the hair, and then I simply mapped out where the highlights are. I used the gray to bridge the gap between the highlights and the shadows, and then of course the final thing that I did is I used a black and white pen to create the highlights, and that's what makes this hair just look awesome. I love this hair. A lot of you might have even come across my channel back in 2016 when I was working through Inktober for the first time. This one, I don't remember what this was. I think it was sword, and I took the old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword, and I turned it into this. Gave her a sweater with Nugget on it, of course. And then, of course, the next one, oh, I love this one. Let me zoom in a little bit. That looks blurry to me, so let me... There we go. So this is, I don't know if you can read it. Hopefully you can read it, but it says, please don't see me. Please don't see me. And then, Eep, he's coming. And then, like, exclamation mark, he's here. She's all nervous and stuff. And then over here, it just, like, it's supposed to be very timidly. She says hi. But she's looking down. She's looking down at little Nugget here. So, I love this one. This is, like, as far as Nugget goes, this story here, I just love. This will always have a special place in my heart because the first Inktober was just the best. More Nugget stories. So I am in focus here, right? Yeah, okay, I'm in focus. So this guy, he's obviously about to hammer this nail. Hold it still, Nugget. Don't move. I mean, he's really putting a lot of unnecessary effort into hammering this nail. And of course, Nugget is scared to death holding this nail. I can't tell you what part of my crazy mind came up with these stories. I seriously, I have no words. I really don't. I really don't. But I had so much fun coming up with these. Oh gosh, it was just the best. This, let me zoom back out. So this prompt was Screech, so I drew Screech from Saved by the Bell. If you're born past 2000, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you grew up in the 90s, 80s and 90s like me, then Saved by the Bell was the show you watched because it was awesome. So yeah, Screech with a Nugget t-shirt. We need a Nugget t-shirt, don't we? I need to just put out a Nugget t-shirt. Why don't I have a Nugget t-shirt? Like Nugget with his just something. Just Nugget with maybe something written underneath of him or something like that. But I mean, honestly, who would not rep a Nugget t-shirt? I don't even understand how I don't have one. I only have the I Love Slugs t-shirt. Oh, you colored in Screech? Yeah. And then, of course, here's another one. I think this prompt was Giant. And this is Nugget drooling. If you notice, Nugget has the wrong colors here. I hadn't quite decided on Nugget's colors. Nugget is blue, by the way, because I said so. But yeah, he's tan here. He's more realistic, Nugget. But cherries are his favorite, also because I said so. So I drew a giant cherry just for Nugget. Here's another Nugget story. So, how Nugget feels when he runs, and how you feel when he runs. Because obviously he's a slug, he's incredibly slow. Yeah, so that's another Nugget comic that I enjoyed, and her face is just priceless to me. This one is obviously just a skull, nothing fancy, but if you look right here, Nugget's eyes are popping up in the background. So I was trying to put Nugget in all of them, right? Nugget, basically, he showed up once and then he just kept going, This one is definitely one of my favorite inked drawings. I really like the values that I captured here and just the abundance of contrast. This was one of my favorite of that year. The lighting that I was able to create with the dark contrast, I was really happy with. I'd say my least favorite part of this is the hair. I wish that, I don't know, maybe I was a bit better at hair. If I was just maybe a tiny bit better with hair, I could probably have gotten that to look better. I don't know, that overall it just feels out of place with the level of detail that I feel coming from the rest of the drawing, but still very happy with it. This is just a tiger with Nugget down here. I was really disappointed in this. This is where I tried using some of the acrylic inks, and I just flat out didn't like them. I don't have anything else to say about this one. Again, more acrylic ink stuff, and if you remember from that previous sketchbook, I did a sketch of this. I'll just grab it really quick since it's like the first page or something. I think this one was like time. Yeah, so this is where I did a test. I did a test with the acrylic inks, trying to figure out if I could make this look good. I didn't, and this is, yeah, I was really really disappointed in the acrylic inks. But I think, I don't know, it came out okay. Nugget is still right there. He's still right there. He's teeny tiny, standing beside this guy. But yeah. Oh, fat Nugget. So I did, I gave you guys the line art for this. I had a few people color this. But again, Nugget's colors are all wrong. He's pink and brown now. I don't know why. But this is another thing with the acrylic inks. They just look awful. Really, really disappointed in the acrylic inks. Just a huge waste of money and time. But yeah, there's big fat Nugget eating cupcakes. This one I used markers with. It wasn't the acrylic ink. This was a lot of people's favorite. Oh, let me get in. Let me zoom back out. Yeah, this was a lot of people's favorite of that year. I had a lot of compliments on this one. I can't remember exactly what the prompt was, but when I thought of the prompt, this was an idea that just immediately came to me, and I was like, oh, I want to do a ribbon dancer, and as her ribbon goes off, it turns into a zebra. And yeah, that's what I did. Turned a ribbon dancer's ribbon into a zebra. And then I just picked kind of a random color, and I thought pink was appropriate. And I still like the pink. It's kind of nice. Oh, here's another Nugget story. Let me zoom back in. So you got this guy complaining, what's all this filth? Who keeps dripping this slime all over the place? And as you can see, he's mopping the floor. And then little side panel here, and just completely exhausted. My goodness, it's everywhere. And then you got Nugget down here. Of course, he's the culprit, leaving his slime, his trail behind. And yeah, this is a very refined view of what Nugget's proportions and everything are supposed to look like. He has 2 freckles up front, 3 freckles on the back. If you're ever going to draw Nugget, make sure you get his identifying marks correctly. But yeah, this was a fun story to do. This next one is Smoke. Execution-wise, not the best. Conceptually, it looked different in my head. But what I wanted to create, and I used Copic markers here, what I wanted to create was her kind of disappearing into a cloud of smoke, but this doesn't look anything like a cloud of smoke. But at least the eyes are pretty. And the lips, I like the lips. This is, I don't remember the prompt. I think it was Falling, and I did a take on Alice in Wonderland, and so this is her falling down whatever she fell down, a Cheshire cat or whatever, and just some random stuff. Did I put Nugget in here? I don't think so. I think I left Nugget out of this one. This is like a sea monster, and it somewhat turned into a tutorial on how to make snake scales or any type of scale, and to keep it simple. Just a weird Leviathan type of thing. I have no idea what the actual prompt here was. Take care, Cece. Oh, here's another fun Nugget story. So this one's kind of funny. This is one of my favorites for sure. In a world, imagine like a trailer movie where it has like the dramatic eye, like saying, "In a world full of terror, a single hero fights back, and in his wake, a trail of justice." And this is just a joke on Nugget's slimy trail. And then, of course, you got Nugget cheesing it down here. And slugs have teeth. Nugget has teeth, as you can see, because I said so. I will not be streaming tomorrow, no. This is another fun one that I did. A lot of people like this one. So for this prompt, it was juicy. This is where I used my markers. They weren't Copic markers, actually. These were my Letraset markers. And so I did like a woman that is also an orange. And I still love this drawing to this day. I love the colors. This was like one of the projects that I almost couldn't believe I came up with in such a short period of time. Yeah, this one I really, really like. And when I did this one, I was like, I got to do more like this because I loved it. And so this one I think is blind. And so this is like electricity coming from her eyes. Her eyes are just like whited out or whatnot. And just like adding the purple rim light, just the use of lighting and just, yeah, the fact that I did it with markers. Oh, sorry. Hopefully, I accidentally hit my microphone. Hopefully, that didn't hurt anybody's ears. But yeah, I really like this one. But still, this one takes the cake for me. This one is still like just it just came out so good. This one's a lot of fun too. Lots of use of purple, which I enjoyed. Then I went back to this. Can't remember. Oh, I can't remember what this was, what the prompt of it was. But basically just a flying boat. And there's a person up here that you can't really tell is up there, but doing the whole Titanic, I'm free or whatever they say. Oh, I'm the king of the world. I think that's what he says. But yeah. Again, did I forget Nugget in this one? I think so. Yeah, I think I forgot Nugget in that one. This is the squirrel from Emperor's New Groove, I think. The squirrel from Emperor's New Groove giving Nugget an acorn. Finally, I got Nugget's color correct. Blue. And of course, Nugget is not excited about the gift, but it was, yeah, this one was fun. Squeak, squeak, squeaking. This is another Nugget one. He's of course climbing the Empire State Building. I think it was Giant or something along those lines. So I took the idea of King Kong and I made Nugget King Nugget. And so he's just climbing the Empire State Building. I don't remember what the prompt was. Maybe it was fall or something. I can't remember what the prompt, but for this I just used markers and I tried to create the most realistic autumn leaf that I could. And it's pretty close, lacking a bit of contrast in the shadows, but it's kind of tricky with markers. Oh, this was also another one that I liked a lot. This one I think was music or something along those lines. And I was trying to figure out a way to like create the sensation of sound with image, and I really liked doing like a space scene, and I did like a cutout, like I don't remember what that art style is called. Um, Pop art, yeah, like a pop art style, and then I just put some music in the back. She has headphones on. Yeah, it was a fun one, a relatively easy drawing, but I thought it came across well. I think the next prompt was treasure, and so I did a pirate with treasure, obviously. I had a lot of fun with this one because this is like a really good callback to what I always liked to do. I always liked to do like anime characters and have that style. That's what got me into drawing people in the first place, and so getting to do a project like this is always fun. Creating my own character, and it was, yeah, just imagining a story behind this particular scene is a lot of fun. And I gave you guys the line art of this too. High quality line art of this exists. And then the last one is mask. Yeah, the last prompt was mask. So I drew myself with a big pen. And this is also a style that I like a lot. Like this is like me as an anime character or whatnot. And this is something that I used to do a lot of, like friends and just people that I knew. Of course, my hair's a little bit different since then, but I used to draw like friends and famous people or just identifiable people in like a cartoony way. Of course, Nugget on top of my head there, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. And that's it. That was all 31 of the very first Inktober. Okay, Chrissy, you take care. Appreciate you coming by. You have a good night. Oh gosh. That's just the first Inktober. I have the third Inktober conveniently hanging up behind me, so I'm not going to bother with that one. But I have so much stuff. I haven't even gotten to the pastel stuff. I'm going to have to break this up. Into two live streams. I can't do this all in one. So Thursday I will continue. But let's at least get through this sketchbook. This one's a little hard for me. I mentioned it briefly before, but my family had a bit of a tragedy. Not a bit, but just a straight up horrible tragedy. The about an hour before I had to live stream, or I had scheduled to live stream for year 2 of Inktober. And so this sketchbook, though the images and pictures don't reflect the pain and sadness, the quality of work does. So that's something that I can say for sure. And so this Inktober, I had a really tough time doing the daily live streams. And so for this first one, I don't remember what the prompt was, but it's Nugget and Noodle. So I started developing a little bit more of a story of Nugget and his best friend Noodle. And I had originally conceptualized Noodle as a snake. And I decided to change Noodle into a worm so that they were similar size, because it would be hard for them to interact. And so I decided to change their size and make Noodle a worm instead of a snake. But this was the first idea of Noodle. And so it's just Noodle and Nugget hanging out in a blossom tree or something. we started coming up with like more ideas of friends or people in the story of Nugget's world. This I tried to use more of the acrylic inks for pretty much the whole month, and I gave up halfway around, I think, because they're just so terrible to use. But this was going to be another character. I forget what we called him. I think it was like Ezekiel or something like that. Something, I think, biblical for a name. He's supposed to be like this really old, wise turtle in the world of Nugget. But yeah, just nothing really came of it. Absolutely horrible painting job with the acrylic inks. Over here was a not so happy accident where the yellow just exploded out of the eyedropper thing and it splashed on there. I was like, well, maybe I can make it look like the sun. It does nothing. It does not look anything like the sun. It's just terrible. Very. It was. I was frustrated with what was going on there, and I was sad at the loss of my brother-in-law. So, yeah, this was a bit of laziness, but it was fun. I was trying to have some fun with it, and it's just making fun of Noodle being a worm. Here, he's still a snake. But I had on the original live stream, I bring the word bubbles because these aren't drawn, they're taped in or they're glued in. Same with the sunglasses. So this is supposed to be Nugget burning Noodle because the prompt was burn. And so as an insult, Nugget makes fun of Noodle's only dance being the worm. Here he's still a snake though, which doesn't make total sense, but he then becomes a worm later on. This project I enjoyed. This one, the prompt was like vacuum or something. I don't remember exactly. But I somehow came up with the idea of a witch, instead of riding a broom, she is riding a vacuum cleaner. And of course I have a little Nugget up here on the front. And this one was fun to do, like coming up with the design, the character, the pose, all of that stuff. It was a lot of fun. And I still like this drawing. This is probably one of the best of that month. Oh, hey there, Dad. So everybody in the chat, welcome my dad, Ernest, into the chat. I think this is the first time that he's come into the actual live stream chat, so happy to have you here, Dad. Here's another Nugget story, which introduces you to another character that still exists in Nugget's world, and that is Chicken. So this is Nugget being really scared. He hears this pitter patter of feet, this tat 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 tat, you know, like the sound of nails when your dog runs through the kitchen. It's like something like that. And so Nugget looks over and he sees Chicken, sees a chicken. The chicken's name is Popcorn, by the way. Just bagok. And of course, chickens will gladly eat a slug. So Nugget screams and takes off, and Chicken, Popcorn is chasing him. And I continue this story later on. This one, I don't remember the prompt. I think it was like spicy or something. Because a baby dragon drinking hot sauce instead of milk, because they breathe fire. But yeah, this was like another attempt with the uh, acrylic inks, which I'm still quite disappointed in. Of course, little Nugget. This baby dragon does not exist in Nugget's actual world, just to clarify. Here's another follow-up with Popcorn chasing Nugget. So you got Popcorn like looking. Popcorn's like looking around. Nugget is obviously in a dark place, hiding. You see his eyes poke out right here. Popcorn sees Nugget's trails, which sparks his, realization. The trail. Popcorn looking. Popcorn looks around the corner that Nugget's hiding, but Popcorn ran away. He's all out of breath and sweaty. Don't remember the prompt for this one, but I kind of stole this idea from myself. With the previous year, the silhouette with the rain and stuff, holding the umbrella. So I tried it again, but this time I added Nugget down here. He's on the ground with some of the grass or whatnot. Not sure how good that looks on camera, but yeah, this was a relatively okay project. The prompt for this one was precious, and still got Nugget off in this one. Obviously, this is Smeagol from Lord of the Rings for obvious reasons. But yeah, and then I added Nugget just peeping over there. Wait, did I skip one? No. This paper is so thick it's hard to tell. I don't remember which one this one. Maybe it was Liquid or something like that, or Splash. I don't know what the prompt is, but again, calling back to some of the ones that I liked from the previous year. So I tried to reincorporate that same kind of theme and idea, and it came out okay. I think it was well conceptualized but poorly executed. Didn't quite get the colors right, I think. This one is Cruel, and so if you haven't seen the original cartoon, 101 Dalmatians, it is a classic. So I drew Cruella de Vil holding up Nugget, and Nugget is clearly not amused, which he usually is not. I had fun with this one. This one I was a little bit, I was a little out of it. I was kind of struggling with ideas. I was, still struggling with the loss that my family had at the time. Because, aside from streaming every day, trying to be in a bright, happy mood, I was away from my family. I couldn't get to them sooner, and that it felt very isolating. But this was basically just a product of that, and I had nothing better to do, idea wise. So I just did an outline of a whale and then did like a Zen doodle and throughout. This was just ink and water. So I don't remember what the prompt was. Maybe it was like lock or something. I don't know. I whatever it was, I just tried to make a door with a lock on it. Nothing too complex. This one, I liked this idea. I don't remember what the prompt was, but I wanted to try to utilize a little bit of the splattering effect with the ink, and just try to create this weird hypnotist or something along those lines. Yeah, I don't really know. This was just black ink and water as well. More black ink and water. This one, I don't remember what the prompt was, but I just created this scene from my imagination. I was I didn't know what idea to come up with, so essentially during the stream I was like, you know what, I don't have any ideas for today, so I'm just going to take this ink and this paintbrush and just create something random from my imagination. So that's what that was. This prompt was angular, as in angles, not anglerfish, but I took it as a play on words a little bit. And so I drew Nugget riding an anglerfish. Nothing, nothing spectacular. I think I gave you guys the line art for this as well. What is I can't remember the prompt. I think it had something to do with like injury or recovery or bruise, something that has to do with like an injury or something. And so I drew this this very stereotypical sexy nurse with Nuggets down here just grinning ear to ear, or maybe eye to eye, I should say. Snails or slugs do have ears. They're little holes in the back, something like ears or whatnot. But yeah, I enjoyed this project as well because again, it just goes back to the style that I really love. This is just Nugget. Yeah, Nugget being a message in a bottle, totally unamused, as he usually is. But I don't remember. Maybe this one was message. The prompt for this might have been message or bottle. I don't know. But yeah, I just drew Nugget, message in the bottle, as a message in a bottle. This one, again, you can see it kind of goes back to the ones from the previous years that I really liked. And it was like flame or something or other, I don't know. And so I tried to make a person also being made of fire. Again, idea is good, execution was relatively poor. Not the best color selection, I think. And honestly, fire is really hard to draw, especially with markers. And to me, it doesn't really look like fire. It looks more like stylized lava or something. It's kind of bad. This was another lazy one. This one, I don't think I had much ideas here. I don't even remember what the prompt was, but I just drew a glass heart with Nugget standing next to it for no reason. This one I'm quite proud of. This one, I always like doing like lips and teeth, and this one I did it in markers, and yeah, I like the way it looks. I think I got it nice and shiny looking, relatively realistic for it being markers. I'm not sure what the prompt here was either, but just drew gold bars. Maybe it was like wealth or rich or gold, maybe. I don't know, but I wanted to draw some gold bars, just working with the markers. You know, I really like working with markers because the color is so definitive and bold, um, and yeah, they're fun to work with. And this was a relatively fun subject to try. This one I think was filthy. Pretty sure this one was filthy. I couldn't come up with anything unique or fun, so I just drew a dirty, muddy boot with Nugget peeping out from behind it. This one was fun though because I liked using the pens, doing some cross hatching, and just I don't do a lot of that type of ink work, and so it was kind of fun to do. I think this one was like Cry or something. I'm not sure, but something compelled me to try to do a cutting board with a knife and just make it look as realistic as possible. It's not very realistic, but it was fun regardless. This was another attempt at introducing a character into Nugget's world. Not satisfied with the look of the hedgehog, so as far as I'm concerned, he does not actually exist in Nugget's world, but a fun attempt regardless. This one I had a lot of fun with. I love doing yoga poses. The anything where the body is positioned in a way that just looks unique or impossible. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, so I wanted to try to do this with markers. I then later came back to this project on a later live stream and incorporated some colored pencils into it. I did not finish it, but I still like the way it came out. And then there's like 2 or 3 left, so I'll just get through them really quick, and then I think I'm going to call it for today, and then we'll redo this. We'll continue on Thursday. I think this was like Unbreakable or something along those lines. So I drew Thor's hammer. Again, some of these are very, very lazy. Nugget's birthday being Inktober, essentially. So I decided to give Nugget his birthday presents, and I think the prompt was like presents or something. Gift, presents, I don't know. Something along those lines. The last, no, there's 2, there's a couple more. Again, don't recall the exact prompt, but ended up doing a whiskey glass, and I liked this one. I liked what I was able to do with markers or whatnot, and I ended up doing a colored pencil tutorial. I don't know if you can see it, it's right here, but I ended up doing a colored pencil tutorial of the same subject because I liked it. This prompt, I remember, this was shock, and so easy way out, draw a couple electric Pokemon. This one was easy to do. Like I said, this sketchbook, it was difficult. This month was very difficult, and a lot of shortcuts, a lot of abbreviation of my ideas and things. I wasn't really putting a lot into the sketchbook because I was just emotionally unable to. And then I think this, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember the the prompt. Can't remember the prompt, but yeah, just an orange slice. It could have been slice. Yeah, I think maybe it was slice. So I did an orange slice with a nugget drooling over it. And that was the final prompt for that month of Inktober. Now I'm going to do one more sketch. Well, not one more sketchbook, but I have, so if you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff in this. I'm going to save this for Thursday, but I'm going to do whatever's in this. I don't even know what's in it, but I'm going to do whatever's in this. So I'm going to set this aside really quick. And by aside, I mean on the floor. No, it wasn't juicy, it was slice. Oh, yeah, it was drool. Barbara's got it, it was drool. Juicy was in 2016. Yeah, so this is a marker portrait that I did on a drawing journal, I think. Yeah, so this is if you know how to use markers, this is what you can do with markers. You can almost do everything with markers that you can do with colored pencils. You just have to kind of change the order in which you approach it, but this was a really fun challenge. I messed up her lips a tiny bit. Not totally satisfied with the skin, but I mean, I almost can't imagine doing better. I had a lot of fun with this project. This, you might recognize this person. This is my 2019 self-portrait. So this is a colored pencil self-portrait, and this is a project that I did daily live streams. One of the many reasons my channel started to like slowly die last year. But yeah, this was an important project. I felt like this was important to do. If you've never done a self-portrait, I highly recommend it. Kind of wish that maybe I would have shaved for the picture. But now I feel like I have facial hair most of the time. But I actually prefer to have like a clean shave. But yeah, self-portrait. Here's another marker portrait that I did. I think I did most of this off stream, but I had a lot of fun with this project too, using the Copic markers. I think I forgot to like spend some time on her ear. Still pretty good. This is not original. This is not original character. Trust me, I wish it was. I wish that I could have created something so beautiful. I can't remember the artist. Very, very famous Korean artist that designs characters for video games, and his anatomy and proportions that he uses are just so, they're just so great. I love the way he exaggerates the hips and the thighs, and I mean, I wish I could draw this good. Yeah, if I could draw like anybody, it'd probably be him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And this is a little bit of my attempt of incorporating his exaggerations into my own work. As you can see, I fail miserably, but this is actually a women's international master chess player, Anna, and Anna Rudolph. She's a Twitch streamer and chess commentator, and she was commentating, I want to say she was commentating the Tata Steel chess tournament last February, February of last year. And she's a really big fan of spicy chocolate. And so while I was enjoying the chess tournament and her commentating, who was she commentating with? Can't remember who she was commentating with, but I decided to draw a version of her as a cartoon character or whatnot, and I sent this. I tweeted it at her, and she really liked it. She liked the chocolate bar. But this was a lot of fun to do. I wish I could do more work like this, just because that's what I like to do. This is the tutorial. Last year or sometime last year, I think I did a tutorial on how to improve your colored pencil work. And this was the subject matter. Because if you're trying to get good at colored pencils, I highly recommend you do a bell pepper. Bell peppers are really great subjects. Let's see. I'm just checking the chat really quick to see if I missed anything. Tina, if you feel like the stream is lagging, just double check and make sure you're actually live and you're not like 2 minutes back. So some of you might remember this. A couple years ago, my sister came and stayed with me and visited for like a month, or like 3 weeks, and we did a couple live streams together. One of the live streams that we did together was that you guys would give us animals that we did not know, right? Like we weren't sure what the animals were supposed to look like. And so whatever animal that you guys would give us, we would draw what we imagine that animal looking like based on the name of the animal. And we just came up with all kinds of super goofy. Oh man, that was one of the funnest live streams I think I ever did. Because I mean, we were just crying, laughing. It was just so funny. Because look at this. Look at these ridiculous animals. That's absolutely ridiculous. This moose looks like it's smoking a cigar or something. And what on earth is this crazy creature with like giant mouse ears and like a billion little feet or something? So weird. So weird. And then the best part was when we would Google image what the animal actually looked like. And we were just way off like every time. Just way off. This was an ink project. So I live streamed this project a lot of the time. And essentially, I don't even know how it started, but you guys would tell me what to add to the scene, and I just kept adding stuff with the pen. But there was no sketching. Yeah, it was just commit 100%. Whatever you guys say, I start adding it in with ink, and I don't use a pencil to sketch anything. It didn't really come out that great. This is also a tutorial. Gosh, are all of these tutorials? No, there's a couple non-tutorials. This flower was for a colored pencil magazine article. They do one for each issue of the magazine each month. And I think I did 3 of them. I can't remember. But essentially, you choose a subject or a subject is chosen for you and you draw it. I did this one. I did a coin. And I don't remember if I did anything else. So I have a detailed tutorial of that. This is a tutorial. this is the illusion of fur or something like that. The illusion of white fur. So despite what you think you are seeing right now, this is white fur, this is white fur, and this is white fur. All of this is from fur of a reference photo of an animal. I think almost in all instances it's a cat, but I can't, don't quote me on that. It's like a cat, a dog, and something else maybe. But I got 3 different reference photos, all of animals with white fur. And so every single one of these is white fur, and I go through in the tutorial to show you that white fur doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. And the only reason it looks white is because everything surrounding it is of a darker value, or in some way creates the illusion that the fur you're looking at is white. And so these are the examples of white fur to help demystify drawing animals with white fur. And if you draw animals with white fur, highly recommend you not do it on white paper. Now many of you will recognize this portrait because this is the portrait for the colored pencil portrait course that I sell on my website. Not a lot to say there. And again, you might recognize this portrait because this is the portrait from a recording of my colored pencil portrait course. And you might be thinking, why do you have the same portrait drawn twice? Well, if you didn't know this, so I think the course, the colored pencil portrait course, is around 6 hours, somewhere around there, 5.5, 6 hours. And I actually recorded it twice. The first time I recorded it, I went through the entire portrait. I did the entire thing. And when I went back to edit the footage, there was an audio problem which rendered everything that I did completely unusable. And so I had to re-record the entire course, and so that's why there's 2 of those. Now this here, going to be difficult to show you it entirely, but I don't know, a few years ago I wanted to do a coloring book. I wanted to do a coloring book with artwork that I would just create myself. So again, back to the anime manga type style of stuff. That's the stuff that I love doing. And so I designed this very elaborate coloring page. This is one of them. I think I have a couple more in here. Yeah, this is another one here. I did actually make a tutorial out of this on how to create these really cool, detailed, long, curly hairs, because I absolutely love this. One thing that I didn't realize when I designed this character is that you have to imagine that she is wearing pants. Because if you imagine this as her skin, she is either just wearing underwear or nothing at all. So I in my head, these are leggings. So just keep that in mind, because her shirt just stops here. She's wearing a jacket. Obviously, she's wearing these really thick thigh-high socks. So it's got to be somewhat cold. So leggings. That was the subtle flaw in this design, is that it's not obvious that she's wearing something there. This was the first one, and this is the last. Yeah, this is the last. So this is the first project of the coloring book that I was going to do. As you can see, I did not finish this one. She is supposed to be standing at a train station, thus the reason for this clock. And I have all of these lines mapped out I was going to put railroad tracks. I was going to put like a, what's that? The deck. Is it called the deck? I don't know what it's called, but yeah, it was the platform. Yeah, it was going to be, so it's a couple railroad tracks here, platform, couple like things over there. But I never finished it. The whole purpose of these coloring pages was to just make them like exceptionally detailed. They weren't geared towards like a children's coloring book audience. It was geared more towards like you're skilled at coloring and you want something complex to color. That's why this one is quite complex for a coloring page, but I spent a lot of time designing this character, drawing this character, and placing her in the scene, and just overall, just yeah, that I spent a lot of time on all of these actually, but I never finished them. And that is going to do it. So I'm going to wrap this up. I still have 2 sketchbooks that you can't even call sketchbooks. They're the gummed pads. They're just the cardboard, and I just have stacks of drawings in there. Just so much in there. So I have 2 of those to go through. That's going to take a long time. And then what you can't see off camera over here, that I have sitting on my bed, is what looks like 8 sheets of foam board, and in between each of those foam boards is, I have no idea how many pastel paintings. So a lot. All of my pastel paintings, with the exception of, I have 2 hanging up on my wall over here that are permanently hanging up, and I have these ones that are temporarily, they're supposed to be temporary, but I'm just too lazy to put them away, because pulling all this stuff out is a major headache. But I'm doing it for you guys because I love you guys. So I have a mess to clean up now. I'm going to keep that stuff and the pastel paintings out for Thursday. So I will do part 2 on Thursday, and we'll get through the rest of my artwork. And then next week, Tuesday and Thursday, we'll go back to the regular stuff. We'll go back to the pastel tutorial. So I'll have to come up with something for those. I'm thinking a still life or a portrait. I wouldn't mind doing another pastel portrait. I feel like the first one was a bit too much a trial and error. Didn't really sit well with me. So I think I might do another one, and perhaps I'll do the same exact portrait for colored pencils. So I might do that. Anyways, that is going to be it for today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed looking back through the artwork that I've created. Hopefully you've seen a little bit of progression in my work as well. I feel like there's been a lot of progression over the past few years, thanks to you guys. You guys motivate me to teach. You guys are always eager to learn, and because when I teach, I never quite feel like you guys get. I feel like you guys get the short end of the stick when I teach, because when I teach, I feel like I learn so much more than what I teach you guys. But hopefully you don't feel like you're getting the short end of the stick on there. But yeah. Anyways, have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. I'll see you guys on Thursday, and I'll continue going through the rest of my work. And yeah, take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace.